There you go, everybody. Now I can see everybody. Welcome for those listening on the audio experience. The microphone's still dropping down. This is still the issue I have every single night I do this. Stay there. Appreciate you listening on the audio experience. Appreciate you watching on the replay. And I appreciate everybody who is here live right now. In the little holding area, we were just talking about the podcast on Acts on This. James has just signed up for a premium membership on Acts on This tonight. This isn't a sales pitch. This is just to say, guys, like, the stuff you get if you go premium is like potentially game-changing, career-changing. James has got an audition, a general at Hollyoaks. I did a podcast with Peter Hunt, the head of casting at Hollyoaks. James is now listening to that before he goes to his audition. It's going to give you that edge, James, that no one else is going to have if they've never met Peter before. Because for you, mate, it's going to be like you already know him. Because me and him have a chat for about an hour and 20 minutes in that podcast, super in-depth. He gives away information that you just don't get anywhere else, all right? So enjoy it. Let me know what you think of it. And if I can help you before you go for your audition, DM me on Twitter or, pipe up in the Facebook group. Anything I can do for you, mate, just let me know. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me. It is Wednesday night. It's time for the book club. It's the second week. We are looking at an awesome book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Let's see what the comments are saying. Got a call back for an audition that went well. Who's that? Is that you, Bobby? Excellent, man. Well done, dude. That's good. Let us know how that goes. Nikita, if she's on here tonight, just signed with a new agent today. I noticed she just signed with the Narrow Road Company. She said that in the Facebook group before. Everyone's making progress now, man. It's great. And don't worry, if you feel you are not, you've got to hang in there, right? Your time will come, okay? Someone once said to me, Jill Trevellick, cast Downton Abbey, she said to me, and I'll never forget it, she said, listen, if you really believe you have something to offer, your time will come, but you might just have to wait. So if you really, really, really believe you have something to offer, don't feel threatened by other people around you having success or getting auditions and all that kind of shit that you like normally would feed into your insecurities. Okay, be inspired by that because it'll be you next. Or it might not be you next week or the week after, but the week after that it might be you. Okay, it might be you a year down the line, but hang in there. And the longer you can hang in there for, the more chance you've got of it being you. So many people give up just before that happens. I've seen it time and time again. And sometimes I've seen people be rescued just as they've completely given up and they're dragged back into the industry like, almost like by a hand of God, just reaching out going, no, you shouldn't have given up. Let's drag you back in. But you've got to hang in there. Fanny says she does believe she's got something to offer. You've got to hang in there. And Brian's just finished a treatment for a short film. Awesome. Simon's hanging in there. We're all hanging in there, man. Honestly, it'll be incredible in 15, 20 years' time when we do a Periscope and we're like, yeah, what are you working on? Oh, I'm in Hollywood. I'm doing this Periscope live on set in some top show or something like that. I truly believe it's going to happen. So do hang in there. So tonight we are looking at this book. James says, yeah, it does. It felt like nothing was happening. And then this. There you go, James. Got to just keep the faith, man. Look at this book, by Susan Jeffers. We started it last week, okay? We looked at the first chapter of it. To recap, I thought it was like a bit of a breakthrough moment for me on how you deal with fear. Okay, what Susan says in the book is ultimately there's 3 levels of fear. We don't need to go into them now. If you want to go and actually look at what they are, get to actonthis.tv and just have a look in the book club section. You can see the replay of that. But I can recap a little bit on what the third one was. It all boils down to this phrase, effectively. When you are fearful of something, you don't think you want to go into whatever situation it is that you're scared of, you're actually saying to yourself subconsciously, I cannot handle it if. So if it's like, an audition, I cannot handle it if I look stupid. I cannot handle it if I don't get this part. I cannot handle it if this relationship goes wrong, so I never go into this relationship. I cannot handle it if this loved one gets hurt. So, you're fearful of, like, if you've got kids, sending them out of the house, Jeffers says in the book, Susan Jeffers, says in the book, you never wave your kids off by going, have a great day, take lots of risks. You always say, have a great day, be careful. And what you're actually doing there is you're imposing the fact that you can't handle it if your kids got hurt on your kids. So your kids go out into the world, in the big wide world, thinking, oh, it's a really dangerous place, right? And we say this all the time, it might be. There are dangers out there, but again, as I said on the last Periscope, we've never had it better. It would be far more dangerous for your kids to go out the house if the Black Death was still knocking around. That ain't the case, all right? If World War I was still going on, World War II, we're probably on the brink of World War III. Archie's here. He says, I don't have kids. Archie, you don't have kids because you're about 11. So it's a good job. But this still applies to you, mate. Seriously, there'll still be things that you're afraid of. And really, someone's saying the Black Death, that's racist. No, the Black Death was like a serious thing. Look it up. Yeah, there's things we're all afraid of, and ultimately it comes down to the fact that we don't feel we can handle it. Archie's 12. Sorry, Archie, I'll get it right. I said about 11, kind of right. He's my nephew. I should know that, man. I buy you enough like birthday presents and stuff. I'll remember next time. The big 1-3 next March. Right, so yeah, we're all afraid of it, and what we're doing is we're saying, I cannot handle it, all right? So what Susan says in the book is if we can just develop a trust in ourselves to actually trust ourselves to be able to handle any situation life throws at you, then ultimately that kind of liberates you and sets you free, because you no longer have to control every situation you go into. So going into an audition as an actor, you don't have to think, oh my goodness, I've got to control this entire situation. You can actually be quite free with it, let go, have fun, and you're probably going to have more success because you're saying to yourself, I'm going to let go, and I'm going to handle whatever happens in this room. I'm going to handle whatever the casting director throws at me, the director throws at me, and then you no longer have to be afraid, because your fear is really a fear of not being able to handle it. So that was chapter 1 in the book. It was a bit of a breakthrough for me. I've never really looked at fear like that before. I've definitely reminded myself all week of that. Whenever I felt a little bit of fear or trepidation on something, it's been like, you know what, don't worry, Ross, whatever happens, you can handle it. Because there's been things in my life that before they've happened as well, I've thought, oh, if that happened to me, I wouldn't be able to handle that. And what's happened, it's happened to me, and I've been able to handle it, because there is no alternative, really, okay? So have faith in yourself was ultimately the message from chapter 1. Now, chapter 2, guys, that I'm going to read you part of tonight, because it's a bit longer, is titled, Can't You Make It Go Away? All right, and this is about obviously making fear just go away. Now, the first question you ask back to that is, well, do we want it to go away? Because can we use fear positively? Can we channel it into a better kind of energy? And we can. And there's actually 5 truths about fear in this chapter. Now, I'm going to go over 3 of them tonight, all right? And if you want to look at the other 2, just get the book. Get it off Amazon. If you're watching on the replay, there's a link to it underneath the video. If you're watching live, just check out amazon.co.uk or amazon.com if you're in the States, Mel. It's like £5.95 over here, so it's like less than $10. But it's a great book. If you don't like reading, get the audiobooks. I'm going to read you another chapter next week and the week after, so at least you'll have read 4 chapters by then. But I would highly recommend this, 100%. So do it. And if you're listening on the audio experience and you're sat on the bus right now, get a little Google and buy it, whilst you sat there listening. It's good. As always, I'm going to try and keep an eye on the comments, guys. I'm going to try reading the book. I'm going to try giving you eye contact through the camera. My phone is plugged in because it was running out of charge, and I just thought, oh my God, I hope it doesn't go in the middle of this scope, because then I can't read the comments. So I'm going to try and kind of balance all this up. But have a listen to this. We're going to look at 3 of these truths after this little intro, and I think they are powerful. And by the end of that, we're going to know whether we can make fear go away, or even if we want it to go away. So give me some yeses and some hearts if you're ready, and we will begin. Fidget spinners help stress and fear, says Archie. Everyone's getting these fidget spinners. Have you seen them? Like these little things you put on your finger and they spin around and around and around. But yeah, Si says yes. He's ready. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those. Someone's making a lot of money out of those fidget spinners. Definitely should have got myself a box of those. Oh, before we start, if you could retweet this if you're watching on Twitter, or if you click the 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner if you're watching on the app, just give it a little retweet or a share on Facebook. Would massively appreciate you for doing that, just so we can get some more eyeballs on it and we can hopefully help a few more people with fear tonight. Would really appreciate that. I know a lot of you have done that already. The kids I teach won't stop playing with them. Somebody just said there before I missed the comment. Already shared, buddy, says Steve. Thank you, Steve. I can see Fanny's just retweeted it. Appreciate you, Fanny. Thanks for doing that. Excellent. Everybody's going for it. The inventor couldn't afford to renew her patent and lost it, someone just said on those fidget spinners. Ashley, thank you for retweeting. Jen, thank you for tweeting. Hipster, thank you for sharing on Facebook. Oh, you'd be devastated, wouldn't you, on the old fidget spinners if you did that. The voice of Siri actually did the voice of Siri on iPhone before iPhone bought Siri as an app. It was just like a small company who created Siri. Initially, he did a buyout on that voice of Siri for $500 in perpetuity forever, not knowing Apple were then going to buy that company. It would then be on every single iPhone on the planet. Would have literally made him millions of pounds. Didn't get any of it, unfortunately. Bit of a shame. They don't use his voice anymore. I think they got someone else to do it in the end, but that'd be a bit gutting as a voiceover artist, wouldn't it? So anyway, let's have a look at this. Can we make fear go away? It starts off with Susan talking about a woman called Janet. And she says, Janet's still waiting for the fear to go away. She'd always planned to return to college once her children were in school. But she now notices it's been 4 years since her youngest child entered first grade. New excuses have popped up since that time. I want to be here when the children come home from school. We really don't have the money. My husband will feel neglected. Although it's true that certain logistics would have to be worked out, that is not the reason for her hesitation. In fact, her husband is willing to help her in any way he can. He is concerned about her restlessness and often encourages her to fulfill her lifelong dream of becoming a fashion designer. So Janet wants to become a fashion designer, and he's making every bloody excuse, excuse my language, Archie, under the sun not to become one. Each time Janet thinks about calling the local college to set up an interview, something stops her. When I'm not so frightened, then I'll make the call. When I feel a little better about myself, then I'll make the call. Most likely, Janet is going away a very long time. Who's been in this situation? Be honest. I definitely have, particularly in my younger days. I used to be petrified of using the telephone. For phoning anybody. Oh no, I'll ring them when I've got this sorted or that sorted. Oh, I wouldn't bother them. I'll ring them after lunch. That was another thing. Oh no, they'll be going on the lunch in a minute. Ross, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. They won't. I would do stuff like that all the time. Because we do. Fear puts everything off, ultimately. I'm seeing I have, says Ash. Vanny's laughing. We've all done this. We've all done this in and outside of our acting careers, guys. So the problem is that her thinking is all mixed up, all right? The logic she uses automatically programs her for failure. She'll never break the fear barrier until she's made aware of her faulty thinking. So have a think if your thinking is faulty tonight, all right? She simply does not see what is obvious to those who are out there doing it. So there's a difference between those who are doing it and those who are talking about doing it. We all know that. Nor did I see that until I was forced to, says Susan. Before my divorce from my first husband, those who've been divorced might resonate with this, I was rather like a child, allowing him to take over the practicalities of my life. After my divorce, turning the page now for those on the audio experience. After my divorce, I had no choice but to start doing things on my own. Small things such as fixing the vacuum cleaner all by myself brought me enormous satisfaction. The first night I invited people to my home for dinner as a single person was a monumental leap. The day I booked tickets for my first trip without a man was a day for celebration. As I began to do things on my own, so not just talk about them, but do things on my own, I began to taste the deliciousness of an emerging self-confidence. It wasn't all comfortable. In fact, a lot of it was extremely uncomfortable. I felt like a child learning to walk and falling frequently. But with each step, I felt a little surer of my ability to handle my life. See, handle. That's the word in its entire book. Handle it. As my confidence grew, I kept waiting for the fear to go away. Yet each time I ventured out into new territory, I felt frightened and unsure of myself. Well, I told myself, just keep putting yourself out there. Eventually, the fear will go away. It never did. One day, a light bulb went on in my head as I suddenly realised the following truth. Now, these are the really interesting truths about fear. The fact is, it will never go away. So take that as solace and comfort. If you're feeling fear on a daily basis, it's actually a pretty good thing, and it means that you're probably growing, because unless you are staying exactly where you are and doing nothing in your life, you're probably going to be fearful of something, all right? Hell yes, says Fanny. So this is truth number 1. There's 5 truths. I'm only going to read you 3 tonight, so I've only got time for 3. If you want to read the other 2, get the book. Archie says, if you feel fear, get a spinner. There you go. That's good advice. Fear can mean you care in the right situation as well, says Steve. Yeah, fear can manifest itself in loads of ways. But the thing is, it's always going to be there. So truth number 1, and this is truth number 1, the fear will never go away as long as I continue to grow. So if you're feeling it, guys, it's like a really positive thing, because you're actually on the verge. If you're not committing yet, you're actually on the verge, on the cusp of growing, developing, and doing something that's going to make you a better person. All right. So Susan says, as long as I continue to push out into the world, as long as I continue to stretch my capabilities, as long as I continue to take new risks in making my dreams come true, I was going to experience fear. What a revelation. Like Janet and so many others reading this book or listening to this book, I'd grown up waiting for the fear to go away before I took any chances. When am I no longer afraid then? For most of my life, I'd played the when-then game, and it never worked. Once again, you're probably not jumping up and down with joy. I'm aware that this revelation is not exactly one you wanted to hear. If you were like my students, you were hoping that my words of wisdom would miraculously make your fears go away. Well, I'm sorry to say it doesn't work that way. On the other hand, rather than thinking of it as a disappointment, consider it a relief that you no longer have to work so hard on getting rid of the fear. It isn't going to go away. Not to worry, as you build confidence in yourself, though, with the exercises suggested herein, and we'll look at those, your relationship with fear will dramatically alter. Okay, not long after discovering Truth 1, I made another important discovery that contributed enormously to my growth. So before we look at that, just to recap, fear ain't ever going to go away. You're always going to have it. No matter how many auditions you have, you're still going to get it. Every time. I've been a professional actor now, probably since I'd say, I was kind of working on children's TV at like 13, 14, but if you class after drama school as professional, that was 2005. So that's 12 years. Still, I had an audition for a new BBC One drama a couple of weeks ago. I still had the fear. I dealt with it better, booked the job, but I still had the fear. Seriously, I'm sat in Starbucks before my audition, and I'm still nearly swore. Well, crapping's fine, isn't it, Archie? He's 12. Crap in my pants. Literally like, right, okay, have I got these lines nailed down? Do I look right? Is my hair all right? Have I dressed appropriately? What are the names of the directors again? Am I going to make a fool of myself when I go in? What do I say to the casting director? Who else am I going to see when I'm there? You can't help it, but you deal with it better when you realise that that's all completely normal, and no matter what you do, you're always going to have it, and then you've got to just channel it into a more positive way. So truth number 2 from Susan is the only way to get rid of the fear is doing something to go out and the fear of doing something is to go out and do it. Oh, I just missed that comment. Someone just said something about someone called Elizabeth. I'm so sorry if I missed these comments. Write it again, and I'll try and get it. And if you're writing a long comment, guys, copy it to your clipboard so you can paste it in again if I miss it. Getting used to the fear, but frustrating when don't do best, when don't connect to the script you get. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get better at the technique of auditions, without a doubt, just through practice. Mel, good evening, great to see you here. And sometimes, you can go in and you can still kind of you can have your fear under control, but then something else kind of gets in the way. I've been paired up with people in auditions before that's thrown me, so the person I've gone in with hasn't been particularly good or well prepared, and that's quite annoying when it's like, you know what, I feel, and you shouldn't let that happen. You shouldn't let that dampen your performance, but sometimes that's difficult to do. Elizabeth Gilbert says, fear is allowed to come on the journey, but it isn't allowed to drive. Interesting, yeah, it can stay in the passenger seat. Great analogy. So sometimes, you might have your fear under control, but then something else goes awry in an audition, and that's just like a learning thing, It's getting in the room that I struggle with. Yeah, well, maybe some fears are holding you back from asking to get in the room. Maybe you're not asking your agent enough. Maybe the fear of that. Maybe the fear of changing agents. Maybe the fear of reaching out to casting directors. I get people emailing me all the time saying, I'm going to write to a casting director. I'm petrified that I'll write the wrong thing and they'll write me off forever. And I'm like, well, look at you now. You might as well have been written off forever by not writing it, because you're not going to get any response. You might as well try and write and get, some kind of response. All of the above. Who's this? Ethan. Ethan, don't recognise you as a regular viewer, mate, but thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you join us every week. Tell all your friends. But yeah, a load of people let fear stop them from even getting in the room. So if that's something that you need to deal with, feel it and do it anyway. Send those emails. I set people a 3-email challenge this week on Monday night's Periscope. One was an email to ask for help, because people are just really poor at asking for help. So if you need some help, reach out to somebody who's getting auditions, who's got what you want, who might be, anywhere between sort of, 2, 3, 5, 25 years in front of you, and just go, listen, how are you doing it? Can I reverse engineer your success? Because that's the fastest way to expedite your own success. So yeah, Ethan's not been on a scope before. Awesome. I concentrate on that feeling in your stomach and use it as a power. Who just said that? I just missed it. Somebody, Fitness One. Give me your real name, kids. I'm seeing a lot of usernames fly up on my screen, but I don't know. It doesn't show me people's first names. So just keep sending, asking emails, get help. Ask people how they've done stuff. There's no point in you. Nathan's it. That's Nathan. All right, mate. Great to see you, dude. You can spend 10 years working it out for yourself, or you can just ask someone who's already done it. It's so much easier. That's what I love. I love books. You can get an autobiography of someone who's very, very successful, and you can spend your life, you can spend 40 years of your life getting it all wrong and figuring it out yourself, or you can just buy somebody's book who's done it, read it in a weekend, and you can get all that experience from one life in 2 days. It's incredible. It's why people should read. It's the whole reason I do the book club. If you don't like reading, do audiobooks instead. But you can learn a lot from people who have got what you want. What sort of level are we talking about here? What was you referring to, Ethan? Let me know what you... Oh, was that Ethan? Was it you said that? Let me know what that was in reference to. What level are we talking? So truth number 2. Let's get into this, okay? The only way to get rid of the fear of doing something is to go out and do it, all right? That sounds easier than it probably is, but ultimately it's the only way to get over it, okay? So this sounds contradictory to truth 1, yet it isn't. Fear of particular situations dissolved when I finally confronted them. The doing it comes before the fear goes away. I can illustrate this by recounting my first teaching experience when I was studying for my doctorate. I was not much older than my students, and I was teaching a subject in which I had dubious expertise. The psychology of aging, okay? I anticipated the first class period with a tremendous sense of dread. During the 3 days prior to the class, my stomach felt like it was on a roller coaster. Maybe that's you when you get news off your agent, you've got an audition. After that first high of, yes, I've got an audition, you go, oh shit. Sorry, Archie, you go, oh dear. Now what do I do? And your stomach goes on that roller coaster. I'd prepared 8 hours of work for a 1-hour class. I'd handwritten enough material for 3 lectures. None of this took away my fear, though. When the first day of class finally arrived, I felt like I was being sent to the guillotine. As I stood in front of my students, I could feel my heart pounding and my knees shaking. Somehow, I got through that class, she says. Page turn here, guys. Not ecstatically looking forward to the second one the following week. Thankfully, things were easier the next time, though. If not, I might have left teaching permanently. I started to become familiar with the faces in the classroom and connected some of the names to the faces. And you'll get that the more times you see a casting director, guys. It just becomes less stressful. First time you meet a casting director, it's like first day at school, isn't it? But it does get easier. So I started to become familiar with the faces in the classroom and connected some of the names to the faces. The third class was better than the second, as I started to relax and go with the flow of the students. By our 6th session, I was actually looking forward to standing in front of my class. The interaction with my students was stimulating and challenging. One day, as I was approaching that once dreaded classroom, I realised I was no longer afraid. My fear had turned into sweet anticipation. I had that, starting out on these Periscopes, 186 Periscopes ago. Crap in my pants going, how am I going to talk to these people for an hour with no one actually to talk back to me in real life, just on the screen? How am I going to keep them engaged? Is anyone going to like it? They're going to think I'm an idiot. 185 in now, I just feel like sweet anticipation before a scope going, well, you know what? Hopefully someone will enjoy it. And that, again, does happen with acting. I don't think you ever get to the point of total sweet anticipation with auditions because they're never the same. I think when you're doing a class that can be quite similar or a Periscope that's quite a similar experience, every audition I find is a different experience. So I don't know if you can quite get that the same, but you can definitely get closer to it. So as a result, I got rid of my fear of teaching. Yet when I took my teaching into the television arena, once again I experienced fear. Until my doing it often enough eliminated my fear of appearing on television, so when Susan got a bit more famous. And so it goes on. Another part of the when and then game I used to play had to do with self-esteem. When I feel better about myself, then I'll do it. This is something that a lot of people feel, just general human beings, not just actors. And this is another mix-up in the order of reality. I kept thinking that if I could improve my self-image, then the fear would go away, and I could start accomplishing things. I didn't know exactly how my self-image was going to improve. Perhaps by my growing older and wiser, or through feedback from other people, or a miracle would make me feel wonderful about myself. I actually bought myself a belt buckle that read, "I'm terrific," thinking that through osmosis I'd get the message. Maybe all those things did help a little, but what really made the difference, however, was a sense of accomplishment I felt in pushing through fear and doing things on my own. Finally, this became clear. So it wasn't a matter of like her waiting to feel better about herself before she did something. It was the doing the thing that made her feel better about herself. So I say this quite a lot. A lot of people, it seems completely counterintuitive, this, but the thing you are afraid of doing, the excuse you are making to do that thing, is often the thing you're going to solve by just doing it. So it's like, going, I'll go to the gym when I feel better. Not realizing that if you just went to the gym, you'd feel better. So to fix the thing that you're using as an excuse, you've often just got to do that thing. That's what Susan found in that. And I found that so many times in life. You can't go, I'll in the gym, I'll curl those 20 kilogram dumbbells when I've got big arms. No, you've got to get big arms in order to curl those 20 kilogram dumbbells. So it's the other way around. I never feel better after the gym. Lie, says Fanny. Oh, Fanny, you must do. Evening, Patrick. Good to see you. For me, sometimes I don't like working out. I work out Monday to Friday, every day. Sometimes I don't like working out, but I always love having worked out. Same with my run on a Sunday. Sometimes I don't love running, but I always love having ran. I always feel better after workout, says Mel. Tony Rossi from Chicago's just joined us. Good evening, Tony. Great to see you. Well, good afternoon for you, mate. Great to see you. You've just joined us in time, Tony, to listen to the third truth about fear. James says it's a feeling of achievement. Yeah, ultimately, guys, like fulfillment as human beings comes from progress. When we feel we're progressing in anything, if you ever think to a time where you felt fulfilled, it would be when you feel you're progressing in life. My finger gets a workout with my spinner. He's spinning, says Archie. He's still on about his spinners. But yeah, it's gym is a great way of getting focus, says Ethan. It is for me. It really is. Like literally, it's the first thing I do in the morning when I get out of bed is I go and do my workout. And without that, it just sets me up for the day. Working out totally helps me, says Tony. It's all about the endorphins, says Mary. Yeah, absolutely. There's a load of proven scientific benefits of strenuous physical exercise before 8 a.m., particularly if you're a man, because men, we have more testosterone in the morning, so you're technically stronger anyway. When I procrastinate, I send my ass to the gym, says Ethan. I've been back 2 weeks and I've noticed a difference. It's huge for me. I think for my mental well-being, like my state of being being in peak state for me, I have to be working out regularly. If I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago and I had the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday off, I was going spare. By the Sunday, I was like, right, I've got to get out and at least do my run. It's a big, big deal for me. So they were the first two fears, truths of fear. One is that it's never going to go away. And two, that the only way to get through it is by doing the thing you're afraid of, okay? The third fear I want to look at was rule number 4, I think. Let me just see where it is. Because this is one that really applies to actors. Yeah, truth number 4, I've highlighted it here. It's a really interesting one, this, and it's something you should always remember when you're going for an audition or a job interview, if you have a normal job, regardless of a relationship, a date, going on a date with someone, something like that. This is something you should always remember. Truth number 4, not only am I going to experience fear whenever I'm on unfamiliar territory, but so is everyone else. So I'll read it again. Not only am I going to experience fear whenever I'm on unfamiliar territory, but so is everyone else. So I promise you, if you screw up your audition a little bit because of fear, because you're on unfamiliar territory, the other people in that room are going to do the same. You're on a level, an even keel most of the time, because you're all in the same situation, the same boat. And if you can just handle it better, then you're going to do better than those other people. Exercise makes you feel better. You just got to do it. Someone just put there, you take for granted that no one else is in fear. Yeah, Fanny, you do. You forget, don't you? You've got to remind yourself. If you're crapping your pants, chances are the other 3 or 4 people up for the same role as you are feeling that fear as well. Now, you've just got to feel it and do it anyway. And if you can handle it just better than those other people in the room, then you're going to probably come out better. Okay, and it's not the matter of conquering it and getting rid of it and crushing it and not feeling it. It's just remember those words, I will handle it. It's just handling it better. And it doesn't mean handling it perfectly and not showing it, but just better. It's that ego again, thinking my fear is the worst, says Fanny. Yeah, you've always got to have the best fear, haven't you, Fanny? My fear is bigger than yours. Everyone is afraid of the unknown. You're already successful just by facing it and doing it and going for it, says Mel. Yeah, definitely. So truth number 4, yeah, I said to myself, you mean all those people out there that I've been envying because they're not afraid to move ahead with their lives have really been afraid? Yeah, absolutely, Susan. That's exactly what I'm saying. Why didn't someone tell me? She says. I guess I never asked. I was sure I was the only person out there feeling so inadequate. It was such a relief to realise I was not alone in this. I had the rest of the world to keep me company. And you do literally have the rest of the world to keep you company, guys, all right? I remember a newspaper article I read years ago about a guy called Ed Koch, okay? It's an unfortunate surname, K-H. The seemingly fearless mayor of New York City. The article told of how he had to learn a tap dance routine with the cast of a Broadway show for a publicity event. His teacher reported that the mayor was scared to death. I think I'd be a little bit unsure of that. This was hard to believe. A man who had often faced crowds of angry people who had made difficult situations and decisions affecting millions of lives, who had put himself before the public in his race to be mayor, and he was afraid to learn a simple tap dance. If one is aware of the fear truths, the mayor's fear will not come as a surprise. Tap dancing was an activity that tested him in a new way, and of course he would be frightened. Once he practiced and mastered the routine, the fear would go away and his confidence in himself would be heightened. He could put another feather in his cap, so to speak. That's simply the way it works for all of us. By virtue of our being human beings, we share the same feelings, and fear is no exception. Many stories similar to the mayor's appear in newspapers, magazines, books, and on television. Until you're in touch with the fear truths, you will hear about and read and see these stories and not notice the underlying principles operating. You may never relate to the experiences of others, especially those of celebrities, to your life. You may think they're lucky because they aren't afraid to put themselves out there. That's not so. They have to push through a tremendous amount of fear to get where they are today, and they are still pushing. Those who have successfully dealt with fear all their lives seem to have known, consciously or unconsciously, the message in this book, and that is you must feel the fear and do it anyway. A very successful friend of mine, a self-made man who allowed nothing to stop him along the way, pondered the title of my course one day, nodded and said, yeah, I guess that is the way I've always lived my life, without consciously realising that's what I've been doing. I can't remember not being afraid, but it never occurred to me that fear would prevent me from taking the risks necessary to get what I wanted. I just went ahead and did what I had to do to make my ideas work, despite the fear. So it looks like some people are kind of born with that, and they can kind of just get that, you know what, I'm feeling this, but I'm doing it anyway. Other people feel it and go, oh my goodness, I'm just going to let it cripple me and paralyse me. So it is about, being aware of it, knowing it's never going to go away, feeling it, doing the thing that you're afraid to do, and realising that everybody else is afraid as well. If you've not been successful in dealing with fear, you probably never learned the fear truths and interpreted fear as a signal to retreat rather than as a green light to move ahead. You've tended to play those when and then games I mentioned earlier. All you've got to do is find a way out of your self-imposed prison, okay? And that's to retrain your thinking. So if you're in prison, they say the hardest prison to escape from is the prison of the mind, then we've got to retrain your thinking, guys, all right? A first step in retraining your thinking is to say the fear truths at least 10 times a day for the next month, as you will shortly discover retraining faulty thinking takes constant repetition. Knowing the fear truths is not enough. You have to keep feeding them to yourself until they become a part of your being, until you start to reverse your behavior and move toward your desired goals rather than retreat. There will be more later about why repetition is important, but for now, just trust me and repeat the fear truths over and over again. So I'm going to read you what the other two are. We've only got time to read those three in depth. But the other two truths, these are all five of the truths, okay? One we looked at, the fear will never go away as long as I continue to grow. So if you're doing good stuff in your life and you're being successful and you're growing, you're always going to have fear. So that's a positive, right? If you're feeling it, you're doing something right. 2, the only way to get rid of the fear of doing something is to go out and do it. Whether that's a bungee jump, a phone call, an email, a date, whatever, go out and do it. 3, we didn't look at this one. The only way to feel better about myself is to go out and do it. So that's the whole thing about self-image and self-esteem. You know, people go, I'll do that thing when I feel better about myself, or I've got a high level of esteem, not knowing if they just did the thing, they'd have that high level of esteem as a result. Number 4, we just looked at, not only am I going to experience fear whenever I'm on unfamiliar territory, but so is everyone else. And then number 5, pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness. That's why I like Nike, just do it, says Val. Yeah, that's an interesting one, that. So pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness. And you're always going to feel helpless when you're not taking action. The key to life, literally, is action. Okay, so I coach people when I do a program called Bulletproof Actor that I do twice a year with actors. It's a high-performance positive psychology program specifically tailored to make actors bulletproof with their mental game, their mindset. It's what I implement into my own life and has really completely attributed to my success. And I'd cover something called the success cycle within that. And the success cycle is all about having belief in your potential and then taking action based on your belief in your potential. If you never feel you have the potential to do something, you don't take any action. Thus, your results by default are rubbish. And then that feeds back into your belief to say, I told you I couldn't do it. You feel like you've got less potential next time. So if you can just believe in your potential and trust yourself that you will be able to handle any situation thrown at you, so you're no longer afraid, you're going to take massive action. By default of that massive action, you're going to get good, if not great, results. And that's going to feed back into your belief. So you'll say, see, I told you I could do it. Next time, you feel you've got even more potential, so you take even bigger action, better results, bigger belief, bigger potential, bigger action, bigger results, and it goes on and on and on. It's self-perpetuating, and it feeds itself, this cycle. Equally, unfortunately, you can be a loser. You can feel you've got no potential, no action, rubbish results, no belief, worse potential, even less action, even worse results, even less belief. It's how the rich get richer, it's how the poor get poorer, the successful become more and more successful, and the unsuccessful, unfortunately, become more and more unsuccessful. So it's all predicated on action. Okay, so ask yourself, how much action have I been taking this week? Have I not been taking action because I've got the fear? That's, then blocking my potential, and it's blocking my results. Seriously, everyone watch that video. His conviction is unreal. What's that? I've missed that comment. What video were you talking about? Let us know. And if it's a great video, post it in the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/actonthisTV. If you think it's going to help, we'd love to see it. That's awesome. So that's the chapter of the book I kind of wanted to read tonight, guys. Like I say, if you want to read the other two fears in depth, the other two truths about fear in depth, Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Oh right, wicked, awesome. Check it out then. Yeah, whack that in the Facebook group. Would appreciate you doing that. Yeah, get this book if you want to read the other truths. I will read you another chapter next Wednesday, another chapter the Wednesday after. If this has been helpful, please share this scope with other people. Spread the word. I massively appreciate it. If you bring other people into the acting in this community. If you're an actor with a higher vision for your life and career, come along, join the Facebook group. We stand for no whining, no moaning, no bullshit. It's just inspired, motivated people who are going to feel the fear and do it anyway. If that's you, come and join, be a part of it. Would absolutely love to have you there. Check out actonthisTV as well if you want to catch up on 184, I think, or 183 other Periscopes. If you want to also watch interviews that I do with top actors, the biggest casting directors in the business. Literally, there's probably not a casting director bar Nina Gold in the country who I haven't interviewed really yet. Love the motivation, says Chloe. Appreciate you, Chloe. Thank you. Who I haven't interviewed on actonthisTV. Everybody from Victor Jenkins and Kelly Valentine Henry, who cast Broadchurch, to Andy Pryor, who cast Doctor Who, to Jill Trevelyan, who cast Downton Abbey, Daniel Edwards, who cast Mrs. Selfridge, Kate Rose James, who cast Line of Duty. Amy Hubbard. So Dan Hubbard, I've interviewed. Amy will definitely be on at some point. I read in for Amy a read-through for a drama that's just been on TV called Little Boy Blue. It was really heartbreaking drama, actually, about the Rhys Jones murder, the little boy who was shot in Liverpool by accident. But yeah, Amy definitely is on the cards. She'll do something at some point with me. Lewis Arnold I had on recently. He's the director of Broadchurch, also directs Humans. It's Amy Hubbard's definitely a big casting director. Nina Gold and Robert Stern are two of the biggest. I'd love to have those on as well soon. They cast really, really big stuff as well. Do you think Nina will do it? At some point, James, yeah, I'm sure, honestly, mate. There's definitely... yeah, honestly, I'm sure at some point I'll be able to sort that out. I want to know who the casting director was for Three Girls. I don't know, Steve. I heard a lot of people say really good things about that. I think it was Shaheen Baig. I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty certain it was. Was that the Rochdale drama? It was on last night, I think, wasn't it? I think it's Shaheen. She also cast Peaky Blinders. IMDb it. I'm pretty sure it was her though, and if it wasn't, let me know who it was, just so that I have that in the bank. But yeah, it was a great drama. So yeah, it was Shaheen. Someone's just put on there. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, Shaheen's great. Peaky Blinders, awesome series. Absolutely bloody love it. Would love to be in that at some point if it ever goes for a 4th series or whatever. Anyone know who the casting director for the new Witcher series on Netflix? No, I don't. It's an awesome series, a new Netflix series coming out that I know Daniel Edwards has got something to do with. Is IMDB Pro worth it, says James. So I have IMDB Pro for one reason, James, and that is ultimately because you can then control your bio on IMDB Pro and you can add a picture. Okay, that helps for SEO, and if people Google you, IMDB holds quite a lot of clout online and in search engines, and if you match your IMDB picture with your Twitter picture, your Facebook picture, and it's all consistent throughout, it kind of helps you as a brand, and you can control what's put on your bio as well. You can also reorder what you're known for. So I noticed that on my IMDb, when it automatically chooses what you're known for, it was choosing some things like, I did a drama called Exile a few years ago for the BBC. I also did something called Accused as well for the BBC. And it was choosing those, and they were like 4 or 5 years ago. And I've done a lot of more recent work. But it had automatically chosen what credits it was going to display as what Ross Grant was known for. You can't change those unless you're IMDB Pro. So yes, it is 140 quid, okay, but it might be a little bit dearer than that. Actually, it might be 160 quid, because they charge you in dollars, I think. But for me, it's worth it from a branding perspective, and from, to keep everything consistent and to give me control of what people see of me when they Google me. I think it is important. I don't use it for castings. I don't use it for applying for jobs or anything like that. It's purely a branding exercise, ultimately, so you can control what information you're putting out there. Is it worth it? I have no TV credits. If you don't have any TV credits yet, it's not worth it because you won't show up on IMDb anyway. So yeah, you'll get an IMDb account for free, effectively, when you have your first professional TV credit, or sometimes if people have, people can put a short film on there or something like that, and they can still add you. So I've done short films for people in independent web series that still go on there. I've done animations and voiceovers that people still put up on there, and they get added to my credits automatically. But if you don't have any credits on there, then there's not really anything to market yet. So no, I would wait until you've got your first credits, so you do that. And someone who just put a comment there is dead right. If you let your subscription lapse, or if you just sign up for a free membership, you end up getting emails from them quite a bit with either like a discount or 2 or 3 months for free, that kind of thing. You can always play that game a little bit, see if you can get a little bit extra out of it. But yeah, it definitely depends. As Tony said there, it depends on what part of your career you're up to, how established you are, how many credits you've got on there. Because then you're going to be able to order it and play around a little bit more with, it's like a shop window ultimately to you and who you are. But if you don't have anything in the shop window yet, then there's not a lot of point in, you've got nothing to dress. But use that as inspiration to get your first credit. Use that, and then one day, you should definitely upgrade. But James, ultimately, mate, I don't know what you've got and what credits you've got, but have a look. You can by all means have a look at mine as well and just see how I've kind of laid it out. and things like that. But it is pretty good. Do casting directors refer to it in the UK? Not really, in terms of, it's not like in the States where like having a star meter and being popular on it is like, you know, a thing. It's much bigger in America. People will go to it to see who you are. First of all, in America, it's definitely, if you're an American actor, I would, you know, link your IMDB profile and your Twitter bio and your Instagram bio, that kind of thing, if you've got stuff to show. But in the UK, we're much more conservative. It's much more about Spotlight, having a presence on Spotlight with your show reel as well. Do you have your show reel on IMDb? I don't actually, Si. No, I just have that on. I have it pinned on Twitter. I have an Insta reel on Instagram. I've got it on YouTube. I've got it on Spotlight, but I don't have it on IMDb. I don't really use IMDb, bar literally, as I say, just for that bio and just for that picture. So there's a lot of money for that, but for me, it's just it's the brand. Yeah, I know people banter around the word brand, and they don't really understand it, but your brand really is kind of like what people see or say about you when you're not there to say it yourself. So for me, to have control over that is quite important. Are you still taking showreel surgery submissions? We are. So yeah, let me tell you about this, guys, before I go. On Sunday night, me and Chris Stone, probably the premier showreel creator, he'll shoot showreel scenes from scratch. He's without a doubt the most talented guy who does this in the country. He's going to be sat here literally next to me on Sunday, and every quarter we do something called showreel surgery, where we take submissions from people who want to put their showreels into us. Chris chooses 3. Steve's already submitted, as he says, awesome. Chris chooses 3. We play them, we broadcast them out, literally, like I'm broadcasting this video now. So you get to see them in HD. You get to see them in all their glory. Chris critiques them with like his professional ninja skills on what he would do, what he would change, how he would tweak it. You get to see all that. We give stuff away on there as well. We normally have like a little competition. There's 3 reels that we dissect, and then we do an open Q&A where people can just ask whatever they want. We're going to do that on Sunday nights on Facebook. So we're going to do it in the Facebook group and on the Facebook page for Act on This. So if you've not liked the Facebook page yet, do that. Facebook.com/Act on This TV. And then come and join the Facebook group, which you'll actually see on the page, but it's Facebook.com/groups/Act on This TV. So make sure you're in the group and you like the page. If you want to submit your show reel, then what you can do is tweet it to me and Chris. So you need to tweet at Act on This TV. It's always Act on This TV across everything to save confusion. And Chris is at Chris Stone Films. So tweet at Act on This TV, at Chris Stone Films, link to your show reel or upload it directly to Twitter in your tweet, and then hashtag it showreel surgery. You've got to use the hashtag showreel surgery, because if you don't, we're not going to be able to find it. It's going to get buried. What will happen on Saturday, Chris will search for all tweets that have showreel surgery in them, and that's how he's going to be choosing his 3. So if you want to submit your reel, we'll critique it and we'll just make it awesome so that you end up having more success. The people who had theirs critiqued last time have gone on to land some like serious stuff from their showreel getting them in the door. So Phil Goldacre, he had his critique last time. He just told me he'd got a really decent part in a new theatre production. What time does showreel surgery start? It would help if I told you, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's going to start at 6 p.m. and we normally go to about 7:30. It's on a Sunday, so 6 p.m. this Sunday till 7:30. And we're just going to... It's all value, guys. It's value, value, value. We don't sell you anything. We're not pitching anything. I just hate this industry, or all industries, for that kind of shit, where it's like, come on, we're going to do this really great thing, and at the end they're like, right, okay, if you want to find out more, buy this product. No, it's just value, 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 content, because... Well, for no reason really, just because I enjoy it. Chris enjoys it, and we want to serve you guys as well as we can. But Chris is an awesome guy for showreel production. I've shot reels with him. I'll show you scenes that I've done with him. We've done a web series together called Year of Spies. He's just got an incredible eye, incredible kit, incredible talent for editing, and yeah, he's just a really, really good guy to get advice from in this. And we always come up with some hacks and little things we can do with social media to help you guys promote your reel as well. How long did it take you to figure out your brand? It's an interesting one. So I think for actors, a lot of the time, is that Ethan who asked that, I think, your brand kind of gets figured out for you, Ethan, after you've been in the industry for a while. And the way that happens, and it happened for me, was... we all want to think this is where self-awareness is like James who asked that. So James, right? So where self-awareness is like critical, it's probably the most valuable thing you can probably have as an actor, because we all want to think, I want to think, oh yeah, I'm the leading man, I'm the Superman, I could do all these James Bond roles, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, when really, in reality, when I look at what I was being brought into for auditions when I first left drama school, it was all copper, lawyer, doctor, ultimately professional. I wasn't coming in for thug, scally, action hero, drug dealer, anything like that. All these things that I'd be like, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to get a role as like a real baddie? Bullshit. Look at your face, Ross. You're like a child, right? You're not gonna be brought in for a drug dealer. I got a part on Emmerdale as a wife beater though, which was interesting because they were like, you know what? It's always the quiet ones. So we want you to look really friendly, but actually you're a bastard. And I had to play like a wife beater, so that was quite interesting. That was kind of not to my type. Steve says he's a drug dealer, not in real life, Steve, but you've got drug dealer nailed, mate. That part is definitely yours. So for me, my brand suddenly was like, well, you know what? Let's stop playing against, like, what people are bringing me in for just because I want to prove I'm an actor. It's bullshit. You can either go against it and go, I want to prove to everybody that I can act and never work and never earn any money. Or you can go, actually, you know what? I seem to be brought in for these roles, thus that's what people are seeing me as. Let's capitalise on that. So if I'm going to get showreel scenes shot from scratch, I'm going to shoot some scenes where I am a doctor, where I am a policeman, but I give myself more of a part than I was maybe getting as a policeman on the TV. So I started off doing, my first job actually was awesome. I did a job with Peter Capaldi, who went on to be Doctor Who, and Juliet Stevenson, and I played a copper who had to tell their son that he'd been killed at work. It was a really sensitive, really emotional scene. It was a really great scene. And I had a fair bit to do in it, but then I was like, if I was going to get a showreel scene shot based on that I've been brought in for this part, and I wanted to show more of being a copper, I could get it written so that I have a meatier role. I'm not just going to deliver information, but I'm actually maybe arresting somebody, or, we're doing something that's, got a little bit more meat to it. So yeah, someone's saying here, accept it. Yeah, you've just got to accept ultimately what other people are seeing you as and capitalise on that, because that's ultimately kind of probably what you are, and you can fight against it. I know some really I know a lovely guy who's like just a big, awesome, cuddly guy, and he's like, yeah, I just want to be like a real bad boy. I'm like, mate, if you just spent as much time putting the effort into who you are as opposed to who you kind of like would like to see yourself as to prove you can act, you'd work loads and you'd earn loads of money. And then what I think you can do is, once you've done that and you've been cast to type for quite a while, and you've got you end up with credibility, that's when you can play against type. And that's when the great actors can then go, right, I am going to branch out and do this thing that no one would expect me to do. So it's not saying you'll never do that, but I think when you're first starting off, look at what other people are bringing you in as. Also, when you get your headshots taken, get other people to look at them and see what what they see you as. What's a really useful game, we play it in the Facebook group sometimes, is people post their headshot and they say, let me know what you see me as. And people say, okay, midwife, doctor, girl next door, whatever it might be. Some people have been like really kind of like, it sounds funny outside of that forum, because people say prostitute, drug dealer. You'd be like, if I just took that at face value and didn't know actually what you were talking about, I'd be offended. But yeah, and then what happens is, once people have critiqued your picture, they post their picture underneath, and then you do the same. And this sometimes has racked up thousands of comments in the Facebook group. Zombie, someone has put, it was a last one. Someone put, yeah, could look like a zombie. So yeah, it's a really good way to find out your casting type that way. But ultimately, the longer you stay in the game and the more auditions you get, you'll be able to figure it out eventually by what you're being seen for. I'm getting new ones soon, but do you think they should be informed by your brand or your casting? I think if you've got some self-awareness already, James, of what you're already being seen for, so you've been brought in for Hollyoaks, for a general for Hollyoaks, ask Peter Hunt, head of casting there. Maybe drop him an email afterwards, or maybe a comment, a quick comment on the day. It's what he kind of sees you as, or what he was thinking when he brought you in. It's generally a young show, Hollyoaks. So you can capitalize on that on some headshots. I do headshot photography, and most people have weird views of where they see themselves in. Yeah, Ethan, man, honestly, and just delusions. That's the thing, and it's like, it's just delusional. For me to go, right, I'm going to get some headshots taken as a scally, a real thug drug dealer. And you know what? If I was doing that on camera, a still picture, I could change my clothes, look really mean like this, screw my face up. And if you got a still image of that, you go, yeah, he probably is a thug. Then I come into the audition and they go, well, you don't speak like a thug. You don't carry yourself like a thug. It's not naturally a core competency of mine. I don't come across as that. I come across as a little bit quirky sometimes, a sidekick. Alan Partridge, people say. I was doing that audition for that BBC One thing, and the director went, you do know you're a bit Alan Partridge, don't you? I was like, yeah. But yeah, you've got to not be delusional. I just want them to realise how much work they could get if they just be who they are, says Ethan. Yeah, it is. It's just a matter of going, actually, this is what you are. Embrace it. Stop trying to be what you are not until you have got the chops. So until you've actually got that work under your belt and you've proven yourself in that, then of course branch out. Will Smith starts off as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The funny, crazy, big-eared guy having a laugh. Builds himself up, in those roles that he's naturally, the natural comedian, because he's just a funny guy. And then, years later, he's like, right, I'm now going to be Muhammad Ali. Completely different. But he didn't just go, right, I want to be Muhammad Ali first thing, and I'm not going to do any other roles because I just see myself as this action man boxer. He went, no, I've got to prove myself first by doing the things that are my core competencies, the thing that I am. And then, of course, when I develop more skill, I can branch out into other things. But ultimately, yeah, and there might be exceptions to that rule. I'm not going to give you like a formula to go, this is definitely going to work. But in my experience, if you want to earn money, then you play as what you are. I work almost every day as a voiceover artist because I do one voice. I don't try and be everything. Basically, I do a voice that that's pretty much like this. There's some things you don't want to see, and some things you do, like the new subs at Subway. Subway, eat fresh. It's it. I don't go, right, now I'm going to put on a Scottish accent, and a Geordie accent, and a this and a that. I did 3 voiceovers today. I did one for Cost Cutter, their TV adverts. I did one for Northern Rail. I did one for Walmart and Asda. The voice on all of them was exactly the same. I've just done a demo tonight for a demo for TripAdvisor. Some TV adverts worth thousands of pounds, right? I just did the same voice that I always do. They want me to do the demo because they know who I am, and I'm known for that voice. Nothing else. So when you can drill down into your niche and go, this is what I am, and I'm going to perfect this, and I'm not just going to be good at that thing, I'm going to be great at that thing, as opposed to being just all right at a few things, you're going to work a lot more and you're going to get paid a lot more because you'll be the go-to person for that thing. So James, you might become the go-to person for the copper. You might do that in small parts for the next 5 years, and then suddenly there'll be a police drama that comes along like Line of Duty, and they go, you've done the copper for 5 years now as a small parts. Now it's time to give you a big part as a copper because you've nailed that niche, you've nailed that copper area of the industry, which I seem to get kind of pushed into quite a lot. So yeah, patience as well. Patience is critical, guys. Like, if you realize, even if you're in your 50s, your 60s right now, just how much time you have left on the clock. People want everything right now. They want a job right now. When you fall in love with the process, you're going to find that a lot easier, and have patience. For you to build a really successful career might take you... I look at my career now and I'm like, you know what? And I also want to build Act on this into be the biggest platform on the planet for actors. Literally, I want it to be the biggest platform on the planet for actors. I look in my head and go, you know what, Ross? That might take you another 25 years. And that's fine, because that time is going to pass anyway. So if I can fall in love with the process and enjoy tweaking the website, doing live broadcasts, interviewing people, and just enjoying my life, then I'm not constantly focused on the end game of like, I'm not going to be happy until it's the biggest, You've got to just enjoy and have patience. I'm really struggling. Something about theatre. What you say, Ethan? I missed that comment, mate. Say it again if you can. It's because we think if it doesn't happen now, then it never will. Yeah, Tony, that's exactly it. Don't say that I'll be a goner. Who's that? Is that Julia? No, you know what? Might take you just 5 years as well. It doesn't have to take you 25 years, but just be patient. It might not take you 5 weeks, like you want it to happen like in 5 days. Fall in love with the process, enjoy it, and then you're just going to be happier. Ultimately, you're just going to be happier because you're actually living in the present as well. And it's really hard today because on social media, we see everybody, or it would appear, having success all the time. It's bullshit. People literally, I promise you, will have gone out this weekend and done things that they didn't want to do purely to get the selfie so they can PR the shit out of themselves on Instagram or on Twitter. And that's what you're up against. But when you realise that is happening, then you don't need to be threatened by it. People will have gone hiking this weekend and climbed up to the top of Snowdon just for the photo. They didn't want to do it, but they're just like, I just want to show everyone how healthy and fit I am, and I love walking. So Ethan, I think you just said you're finding the transition between theatre and TV hard. It is. Theatre to TV or TV to theatre is difficult. Completely different discipline, completely different kind of way that the circuit operates. It's a different style of acting. One thing I would say to you, mate, if you're struggling with that, is go to a specific TV acting class once a week if you can. I did that. I went to something called Act for TV in Manchester, run by Michael Jackson, not the pop star, Beverly Keogh, the casting director's husband. He's also a casting director himself. Great guy. Go to actonthis.tv. You'll see 2 or 3 interviews I've done with him. He runs something called Act for TV in Manchester, Leeds, somewhere else as well now. Davis Liverpool, something like that. I learned, honestly, mate, more in 6 weeks of going to that class, particularly just for TV, how to act on camera and how to act for audition. I learned more about the whole TV industry and acting for TV in that 6 weeks than I did in 3 years of one of the top drama schools in the country. So I went to the Capitol Theatre, I went to Manchester Metropolitan School of Theatre, one of only 5 accredited drama schools when I first went there. I graduated in 2005, it's just such a different industry, TV to drama school or theatre. They just didn't prepare you at drama school, and they still don't, I don't think. I just struggle to get seen in that world. It's about making, but also I'd ask you then, Ethan, how much action you're taking on a weekly basis to be seen. How many emails are you sending? How many press nights are you going to? Well, not press nights, but screenings. So, like, when a drama has been completed, they'll often show that at Media City or something like that if you're up north, or they'll show it in a theatre, a cinema thing down south. Go to stuff like that. Go to acting groups. Go to meetups. On Act on This, we have a London meetup and a Manchester meetup. Are you putting yourself out there? You're getting involved in web series. Are you tweeting? Are you on Instagram? Have you got a presence across all social media? What are you doing? That's what I'd ask if you're not being seen. How do you find out about those? Not enough, clearly, says Ethan. Well, it's good, man. It's great awareness, though. Just make sure you just do that. Do more of that. It's a great acting class, some very valuable lessons. Says Dawn, yeah, Act for TV is good. So to find out about the screenings and stuff, you need to be following the production companies on Twitter. So follow people like Abbott Vision, follow people like Company Pictures, people like Red Production Company, BBC Drama, follow Media City UK and other kind of, event media event specialists in the UK. Social media is just critical, man. It's just critical. You can either shy away from it and go, no, it's a waste of time. I hate it. Everyone's in their phones all the time. There's no human interaction. Bullshit. I have more interaction. I am more social today on my phone than I have ever been in my life. Yes, it's not all face-to-face contact, but people need to stop getting precious and fancy over how we make contact with people. What makes a tweet less important than a handwritten letter if the message is just as sincere? I met head of Sundance last year in Cannes. He introduced me to a lot of people. Awesome. Did you keep those connections open? Did you, speaking of fear, I am shit scared, as Ethan. I've got a social media class on Sunday. Awesome, Dawn. The more you can learn about it, the better. But yeah, let's not all get fancy and all get, kind of romantic about communication. Oh, it's so terrible. My child's spending so much time on his phone. He's not out in the street playing. Well, you know what? Like, is he learning? Is he still socially interacting via Instagram, Snapchat, all these kind of things? Yes, get out and have exercise, but you're still being social. I'm sending you the best handwritten letter. Cheers, Tony. I appreciate that, man. I'll take a picture of it and tweet it to feed my ego. Mary, you just said a comment that was really long and I missed it. I'm so sorry. Will you write it again? Romantic, we're having a slow dance, says Steve. Yeah, people get romantic, Steve, with all kinds of shit in society. So romantic about stuff. And it's like, let's just actually look at it for what it is. that the kid who years ago would have gone home from school, bullied, completely bullied, had no friends, couldn't go out, couldn't socialise because everyone was bullying him. Yes, can still get bullied on Twitter, so don't give me that argument. However, he now has an outlet to find groups online that love the stuff he loves. So he ends up actually being way more social than he would ever have been had the internet not existed. People only want to look for the negatives in social media. There are so many positives. Ross, when you get your copper rolls, etc., on the soaps, do you have to write off that soap for the future? It depends. So normally, I've done multiple rolls on the soaps, on all of the soaps now. Different characters, very different characters. So actually on Emmerdale, played a character called Dr. Hunter for a while, who was he's actually a gynecologist. He worked in, when a character called Jenny was pregnant on there. And then I had about 6 months off, and then I went back into the same hospital as a wife beater. I can't remember the character's name, actually. It's only an episode where I'd beaten up my wife, broke her arm, and took her into the same hospital that I'd actually worked at 6 months before. So I think I talked to Peter in the podcast about this. James has just said that there as well. So if you go to actsonthis.tv, if you've got a premium membership to the site, you can listen to the full podcast with Peter Hunt on Hollyoaks, and he explains this. It roughly writes you off for 6 months to a year, depending on the size of the role you went for. Wife beater, that's not a professional copper casting. He was a professional, Fanny, so I was dressed in a suit. He was a businessman. He was a professional. He spoke really well, and that was the whole part of the storyline. No one at that hospital suspected he was the guy who had broke his wife's arm. So it was a professional engagement on that one in terms of another, I wasn't a scally. He was a businessman. Write you off for about 6 to 12 months, depending on what it is. You'll always get the eagle-eyed viewers who are like, "Oh, I've seen you on that as something else," and that kind of stuff. But it's just is what it is. Most people don't notice. Nasty Pasty says, "Dawn, yeah, he was really Richard. His name was that was it, Richard. He was nasty. It's a bit like Richard Hillman in Corrie, just like came across dead nice. Actually, behind closed doors was a right swine." That's interesting. What time is it? Wow, this has been a long one, guys. It's 7 minutes past 10. I'm going to let you guys go because it's been a long one. But ultimately, just remember the messages of this Periscope are all those truths about fear. Okay, you're never going to get rid of it. That's just it. You're never going to get rid of fear. It's always going to be there. The only way to get through it and to get over the fear of doing something is to do it. And remember the third truth we looked at, which was that everybody else is feeling it. So you're never alone when you're in that audition and you're crapping yourself in the reception as you politely talk to the person who is going in before or after you. They're feeling it as well. And don't let anyone talk to you when you're next in the room, right? Don't be too polite when you're at your audition to have somebody talking to you when you're next in. If you're 2 away from being in, talk, and it's fine. You can do all that. But when you're about to go in, just say, listen, not being rude, just got to get myself in the zone right now. Sit in a corner on your own or whatever. Don't let people talk to you before you go in. And if you want to put someone else off, make sure you talk to them before they're going in. I'm joking, that's not very fair. Don't do that. It's not a tactic I would recommend. It's not what a team player would do. But yeah, don't let fear of upsetting someone rule you by having to talk to them. All right, it's another thing that fear can make you do sometimes, make you be too polite. Naughty Ross, says James. I never do that, James. Maybe I've done it a couple of times, but not regularly. I'm a chatterbox, so this is bad already, says Steve. You can make sure you chat to everybody else, Steve. That's fine, but don't let people chat to you before you go in, and don't you chat to anyone else before you go in. Get yourself in the space you need to be. So I'm going to be back next Monday, guys, for Motivation and Mind Hacks. Don't know what we're going to be talking about. It'll be on a topic that I probably experienced between now and Monday. Something that I've learned or something that I've done. I'll be back on Wednesday for another another chapter, even, not just a paragraph, another chapter of this book. Got another chapter the week after, and I'm going to start a new book for June. If you've got any suggestions for that, drop me a tweet at ActOnThisTV, write it in the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/ActOnThisTV. And don't forget, Sunday night, 6 p.m, showreel surgery. If you want to submit your showreel, hashtag it, showreel surgery, and send it to at ActOnThisTV and at Ross A. Grant. Okay, so that's it. Hope you've enjoyed it. Has that been useful? Give me some hearts. Let me know if you're going to be joining us on Sunday. Once again, James, thanks for upgrading your membership and Acts on This tonight. Do appreciate that. Anybody who wants to find out more about what actonthis.tv has to offer, check out the site actonthis.tv now. Like I say, you'll find 150 hours worth of invaluable interviews with the biggest people in the industry who, if you just listen to and take their advice, you will progress your career so much faster than try to do it all on your own. Ethan's tweeting me now with a show reel. Awesome. And Carrie is here as well. Thanks ever so much for being here. So I'll see you on Sunday night, guys, I hope. Or if not, I'll see you in the Facebook before that. Lucy, thank you very much. You're amazing. Thanks all for being here. Bye for now.